Hey everyone, this is Nick. I'm coming to you with a tip about how to think about labeling those tiny little slices on charts like diverging stacked bar charts that we use to visualize survey responses. Now, a chart like this is from an overall experience rating. It actually has 5 different response options on the survey, but we usually meaningfully group the bottom 3 responses into a single category. So the tip that I'm going to share today really only works if you have a chart where you have tiny slices either on one end of the chart or the other. If you have lots of tiny slices in the middle of the chart, that's going to be a different issue, and we're going to have to do other videos on that one. But this is going to help you out if you have a tiny little slice at the end and you're worried that people aren't going to be able to see your data labels. So let's just go ahead and duplicate this slide. Now, the first thing, these are my data labels right here that I'm referring to. In a stacked bar chart, when you go over to that Format Data Label menu, you have the label position options. You can either put them in the center, the inside of the end, or the inside of the base. That refers to the stack or the slice of the chart that it's within. You can't put them outside of that slice. They're going to stay pretty much within the slice that they are in a stacked bar chart. So you can't really set it to outside bar like you could on a regular bar chart. You can kind of take one of these labels and just sort of drag it outside of the slice if you want to do that. I'm going to have to go and recolor this. Let's just make this maybe a darker gray, the same color. And I'm going to do that with this one too. So this is kind of just the quick and dirty way. You have to take a label, isolate it, and then drag it outside of the slice. And this gets so annoying, as you see, because the crosshairs kind of just aren't popping up those little arrows. There it goes right there. And I can turn it right. But for one thing, PowerPoint gives you these nice little leader lines. Every time you drag a label far outside of that home slice, you will get those leader lines, and I don't really want those on my chart. The other problem is that you can't really nudge these like text boxes. You have to kind of just drag them and sort of position them to your eye, and they're really kind of clunky. They're really difficult to move around. There's not an easy way to move those data labels outside so that they're nicely aligned either to the actual bars of the chart or to each other. So there's another way that we can do this. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this slide. Let's just go ahead and I'm just going to turn these, let's just go ahead and turn these white again. And let's see, let's go ahead and just put them in the center so that we kind of have our original chart. You can see too, once you put them back in the center, those leader lines go away. They're kind of going back into the slice. So the thing is, this tutorial also assumes that you know how to make a diverging stacked bar chart. So we have tutorials I'm going to link above and below to that. But the way in which we make a diverging stacked bar chart in PowerPoint is basically through just a single 100% stacked bar chart. But you get these extra, you have a couple of little extra helper columns on either of those ends. And so it actually gives you another slice that we turn white or we change to no fill, and that gives the chart this sort of floating aesthetic or this visual look where the bars are sort of diverging. So that's kind of how to make one. And if you don't know how to make one, again, go to those tutorials. Really quick, really easy, a really slick chart type to start making. What I'm going to do is actually label these hidden slices, these buffer slices or these helper slices. So I'm going to go ahead and click those. We're going to right click and say add data labels. Now you can see that's pulling the value of the actual column of data behind the scenes, but I want these labels to be exact copies of these labels here on my gray slices. So what we're going to do with these labels selected, first I'm going to change the position to inside end so that these labels move towards the gray slices. So with the Format Data Label menu open there, we're going to go ahead to the little bar chart icon. Under label position, we'll say inside end. Now those labels move over there. Let's go ahead and just format them one size up, and then that nice gray color, and then bold. I think that looks pretty nice. Maybe they should be 12 points. That looks, oh no, I think they were 14. Perfect, that looks good. Now what we're gonna do is on the Format Data Label menu, you see it says value is selected. That's the value of the actual data behind the scenes, but that's our helper data. It's our dummy data. We don't need that. We're going to go ahead and unselect value, and we're going to select this box that says value from cells. Now, in the old days, if you were on a Mac, this did not exist, and I'm not sure if it does exist anymore. So if you have a Mac and you are on a Mac, let me know in the comments if this feature exists, value from cells. But if you're on a PC, you'll get value from cells. The data range will pop up, and you will now be able to see this little data label range window. We'll be able to point to the column of values that we want into our new labels. So I'm going to go ahead and point to the less than vary column. That was my gray slices. You can see that range pops up here in the data label range. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to close my data source window, and now you can see my labels have updated with the exact copies of the data that I wanted them to share. So now from here, it's a little bit of formatting. So I'm going to double click these labels to just delete them. I don't need them because they're redundant. So I'm going to delete those. Now I'm going to keep these 3 right here, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete the white labels from the center. Now you can see that we have these really nicely spaced, evenly spaced labels right outside, sitting right outside of those little stacks. Now, you might say that there's still a little bit too much space between the bar and the label. We can fix that a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and select our labels, go back to the Format Data Label menu. Under the size and properties icon right here, we're going to click that. And then what we're going to do is under the alignment dropdown, if this wasn't already kind of accordioned out, we would go ahead and select that. And then we're going to go down to the margins. So let's go ahead and reduce the default margins within the labels. And in this case, I think I only want to reduce the right margin, the right side margin, because I want that to be closer to those labels. So we're going to go to the right margin. It's default to this 0.04 inches. We're going to go ahead and click that down to 0. And now you can see those labels move just a little bit closer and in tandem, kind of proportionally to each other. So they look perfectly aligned and perfectly spaced right next to that label. So this was a nice little helpful tip, and it's good in very specific situations where you have these really tiny slices on the outside of your stacked bar chart. So I hope that you like this. If you do, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. You'll get notified every time I post a new video in data design, usually PowerPoint, Excel, or Word. Had a great time making this for you. Can't wait to see you next time.